What's up, guys? Welcome to this beginner Minecraft series. Today we're tackling basic settings and creating your very first Minecraft world. Alright, so you've just downloaded Minecraft. Here we are at the starting screen. We are going to go over some of the basic settings to get you guys going. It is important to do this initially so you're not fidgeting and playing around with stuff as you go and you can focus on the actual game. So, first of all, don't worry about these little guys right now. We'll cover, anything. Okay, so this is just English. What's your language? Great. And then there's some stuff in here that you don't need to really worry about. These settings are fine. And these distortion and field of view effects we'll go over in just a minute here when we're going through the video settings right now. So don't need to worry about either of these. So let's go to options. First of all, I like to bring the master volume down a little bit because I'm usually listening to podcasts and such. And then I like to bring the music down just a little bit more as well. Just so the game doesn't really overwhelm other stuff I'm doing. You can leave these at full if you want, but I always kind of like to pull that back a little bit. Everything else here is fine for now. You don't really need to switch any of these settings. It's for later on, you can think about that. But for getting started, skin customization, we will not be worrying about that right now. Video settings, this is the big one. So, graphics. First of all, just leave these two alone. You don't need to be messing with those. Leave full screen resolution. Leave the biome blend at 5x5. That's good. Graphics, fast, fancy, fabulous. So you're not really going to notice the difference, honestly, especially as a first-time player. If you want to see the difference, when you log into the game, look at tree leaves, switch from fast to fabulous, you'll see somewhat of a difference, but it won't really be substantial. So, for today's purposes, we'll just leave it on fast. Smooth lighting, I like it at maximum. That's just my preference. Once again, once you start building and you've got torches and lighting everywhere, you can start switching this back and forth and see the difference there. Vsync, I leave this on. GUI scale. Now, I always like to turn this down to 2. I don't need everything so huge. Makes the game kind of look ridiculous. So I like a GUI scale of 2. Brightness, pull this all the way up to bright. Once again, when you're in game, you're in a cave, bring it down, bring it up, you'll see that bright is the way to go. Full screen, I like full screen on. It's less drag on your PC, better performance for the game. Map levels, leave that at 4. Distortion effects, leave that at 100. When you go through things like portals, there's nausea effects. There's this whoa kind of thing that occurs, and some people don't like it. Makes some people not feel so great, but leave it at 100 right now. When you get to that point in the game, you can tone it down if it's something that's disturbing you. But it's like one of those things, you just want to leave it at the default settings so you can understand what it is before you start tweaking it. Field of view, leave that at 100. It's perfectly fine. Render distance, 12 chunks is good. I sometimes, once I've got builds going, I like to crank it up a little bit just so I can see a little bit further. If I've got, say, a pyramid in the distance or something along those lines. We are not going to be concerned with things far, far away today. For today's purposes, you're going to be more focused on things like chopping down trees and doing the basics, so 12 chunks, this is fine. Frame rate unlimited, so if you don't know what your settings are, what your screen refresh rate is, leave this on unlimited and Vsync will take care of it for you. If you know what your refresh rate is, you can bring this down to, say, your screen's 144 and then turn this off. The purpose of Vsync is to fix issues with screen tearing, so it's performance based. If you get screen tearing, then you can worry about that. View bobbing on, I like it. It makes my little guy look a little more realistic, like he's kind of bouncing when he's running around. I mean, you can turn that off if you want, but then it kind of, it sort of takes from the game, in my opinion. Attack indicator, I've got it on crosshair. That way you see your swing timer underneath the crosshair, which is basically just a way to gauge how often, when you can hit again when you're fighting a mob or something like that. And feel free to turn this to hotbar, and you'll see in the game the hotbar is down at the bottom of the screen, whereas the crosshair, it's right under your crosshair, which is where your eyes are focusing. So this is optimal. Clouds, fancy, it's a performance thing again, fast, fancy. You know, if your system seems to be having some trouble, you know, turn this down to fast. You won't find you spend too much time looking up at the clouds, honestly. So a lot of people turn this off completely. Leave particles on for now, and as you see them and understand what they are, you can decrease them, you can turn them to minimal. So, you know, don't worry about that too much today. Entity shadows, I like them on. I like things to cast a shadow. Just makes sense to me. And then entity distance, 100. You don't need to see things so far away. You can turn that up. You'll see mobs further away, but, you know, for now, this is good. Okay, controls, have a look at this. Have a look at what you can do. It's pretty simple. Here's one thing I like to switch. Sneak, I just switched that to left control, sprint, left shift. Because in all the games that I play, FPS games, for example, sprint is always shift. So that is one thing I like to switch around. Strafe and such, you know, those are pretty straightforward. Attack, destroy, use item, and pick block, those are pretty important. Drop in selected item, hotbar slots, open and close your inventory, it's important. List players, open chat, open command, social interactions, advancements, take screenshot, yada yada yada, toggle full screen. That could be important, but you don't need to worry about that right now. Language, like I said, you know, you can access that particular setting outside of options, but you know, we were going to get to it anyway. Chat commands, don't worry about any of this right now. Don't worry about any of these things right now. You know, we're not concerned. All right, so start with single player. Create your world. Survival, difficulty, normal. If you struggle with mobs and such, you can change the setting, but you know, normal's not too bad. Don't allow cheats yet. I mean, do what you want later, but you know, don't do that just yet. Game rules, don't worry about any of this. More world options, don't worry about any of this. Bonus chest, keep that off. Start the game right. Nobody really wants to go straight into a game with a bunch of advantages that kind of take from the starter experience, so just leave that off. All right, create your world. Very good. It'll randomly generate your situation, and you are good to go. So in the next video, we'll go over some of the basics, chop down some trees, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and get going on some of the actual gameplay. All right. I'll see you in the next one.